All right, so I am getting used to working with this MacBook camera to record, and I accidentally changed my settings from a high to a maximum quality, and it just stopped my video. So I will either have to go into one of my apps like Final Cut Pro or something and merge these two videos, or I'll just post them as two videos, part one and part two. So now I apparently only have 12 and a half minutes left because I had my clock running while I was changing this stuff out and found my phone. But so if it dings and the alarm goes off, I'm gonna keep going. So right off rip, I'm failing my 30-minute limit. So that's how it goes. I'll try to get through this quickly though. So yeah, it's where was I? The aesthetic of the 60s sitcom. The way that Wanda is talking is cracking me up just on GP. Like, she is nailing that white woman, let's call it what it is, sitcom wife from that era, Donna Reed or somebody like that. I mean, I know it's supposed to be based a little on Dick Van Dyke Show, and I didn't really watch the early Dick Van Dyke Show, but I did watch Donna Reed and Leave It to Beaver when it was black and white, Bewitched, and I Dream of Jeannie. I watched some of those. Donna Reed Show is probably the one I like most. I used to actually dig that show. So yeah, the point is, like, if you watched it, you gotta give props to the way, you gotta agree with me that she is nailing that dialect and that tone in her voice. It's kind of hard to describe unless you just understand what the heck I'm saying. And the same with Paul Bettany playing Vision. He still sounds like Vision and sounds like Paul Bettany. But you know what I mean? It's like he's putting those nuances that you had in those sitcom husbands who from that time period. So let's get past that. I think so. If the thing of it is, in anything, if you're gonna say this is what we're going for, you can like or not like it. If you're just a person who don't even like the idea that they would do that, okay, well then you're probably gonna have problems with these first two episodes. But if you understand that that's what they're doing, and they leaned heavy into it. But see, I expected that. I mean, when they said that, I know Marvel likes to lean into what they're saying they're doing. I mean, they leaned into stuff in Thor Ragnarok. They leaned into stuff in Spider-Man Homecoming. They leaned into stuff in, when you think about, I'm trying to think of some of the more distinctly genre or, unique movies in the MCU. Oh, there you go, the Black Panther. You know what I mean? When they tell you they're going to give you a certain vibe in their movie, they do it. Like, they're not just saying that just to say that. That's why I hope, they continue that track record with Doctor Strange 2. Obviously, if you don't know, they switched out directors. Scott Derrickson left the project, I guess, over creative differences or something, which is unfortunate because I thought he did a great job on the first movie, and he has a horror background, but they brought in Sam Raimi, who basically has the same pedigree. So I think they're not going to lose anything. My guess is that he may have wanted even more horror elements, and Marvel's like, okay, we're not going that far with it. So maybe he stepped away because of that. I don't know. But I think we'll have enough of that to satisfy. So let's jump to that part. The fact that they captured the 60s dynamic, but I was already looking forward to, again, based on premise, I'm like, it's probably going to have the sitcom moments, and then you're going to have these small moments where you're like, something not so funny is going on here. So again, leading up to it, if that don't intrigue you, I don't know what, that may not be your thing, but to me, that was super intriguing, and this is why it was the most anticipated. I like stuff like that. Give me some laughter, and then add a freaky disturbing element to it. And then when they showed previews, if you've seen any of the previews or trailers, they have these moments where people are glitching while they're talking, or they're making these, what do you call, ominous statements, where all of a sudden it's totally out of character or out of, like, fourth wall breaking almost. And so that being said, not fourth wall breaking like Deadpool, but breaking the wall of what a sitcom is supposed to be. Like, it's totally out of place, in other words. That being said, those were the moments that were by far my favorite, and they were what I was looking forward to. And the little things they dropped so far were spot on, in my opinion. So far, Obviously, I would hope that they ramp them up. They obviously have to continue with those, but I fully expect that. One thing that I noticed, though, in some of you all may have seen this, when they did like one of the first trailers for it, and they showed them at the dinner scene with Vision's boss. Like, I was looking, when I saw, oh yeah, that's right, okay, very first episode, he's having dinner with his boss and the wife. That was one of the first clips they showed early on in terms of promotion, and the scene actually turned out different. Because in that clip, he was asking them, where are y'all from? When did you get married? Blah, blah, blah. And how Wanda couldn't answer. And he started banging the table. And he's like, come on. I mean, why can't you tell me? Come on. Why can't, and it was like he kept doing it. Like he was glitching out. And his wife kept saying something like, stop it. What was his name? Henry? Ralph? No, Ralph is the neighbor's husband, which I got to get to her. But yeah, so she kept saying that to him. And it was originally a thing where in that scene, the husband and wife were, if I recall correctly, were both like glitching. And they didn't actually play out that way. So that's typical Marvel Studios. They show you one thing and then it doesn't even actually, they end up reshooting it, I'm sure, and just went a different way with it. He definitely didn't look like he was going to end up, like he had more action in the clip I remember seeing than just smacking his hand on the table like once or twice. And then it was really the wife who was the one that was more like something weird, because she kept on saying, stop it, stop it, stop. She was just saying it in a repetitive tone. And then all of a sudden he started choking, and she's kept on saying it, like, stop it. She's laughing, and this dude's choking. So they flipped it. It was still a little disturbing, but that's not the disturbing way it went before, from what I remember when they first showed trailers. And I can go look them up. Y'all can look them up. I'm sure those original versions of that scene are out there. So I can't say original, but the first shown versions of that scene. So, I was a little disappointed, and I really didn't get, he falls out choking, and then Vision saves him, pulls the thing out of his throat that he's choking on, and then the two of them decide, well, time to go. Again, I think in essence, in the end, it still accomplished the point, which is that something is off. Because how does that happen? And then the neighbors, how does this boss man of his and his wife just decide, well, it's time to go? So something is off in what we're seeing happening. This world is not the real world, obviously, but still, these are the hints that let you know why we may be seeing a sitcom and there's something off here. So great moment there. Agnes, the neighbor, that lady, she's pretty freaking funny. I'm gonna just throw this in here. I'll always remember her from Anchorman. I'm gonna just say that. Go back and watch Anchorman, and she plays one of the women that work at the news station, who gets behind Christina Applegate's character, as she's rising up the ranks and gets the promotion. But that lady is just a great scene stealer, kind of, or a great supporting character to add subtle moments of comedy for people like me who appreciate that, who just aren't stuck at looking at the stars of the show. She's just phenomenal at doing that. Catherine Hahn, I think is her name, or something. And she's done that in other movies and projects. So when I found out she was in it, I expected nothing less. She's playing the heck out of that character. She's cracking me up how she walks and leans and be swinging her hands and tuck. I mean, it's just hilarious because you almost ask yourself, why did people act like that back then? Why was that considered acting in dialogue back in the 60s? But that was the way people are, you know. In every decade you see different nuances in human beings that just evolve. So she's killing that. So that all of that was funny. Now, as far as that very first episode, yes, it's kind of like I said, I wasn't crazy about it because it felt like, dang, so this is going to be the first episode. Like, they're really just giving us a sitcom storyline. And that's what made me think, okay, so if this is going to be 30-minute episodes, it's going to be too much like a 60s sitcom where, you know, the problems of the world get solved in 30 minutes. But I think they're going to make it work in the long run. If I'm actually looking at these episodes by themselves, and if I have any critique or, you know, thing that I wasn't so crazy about, it's like thinking about it in that sense, like, oh, so we're just going to watch them solve their problems in 30 minutes. But again, I think they're doing that to set us up. If you can stick out with it, it's just setting you up to say, yeah, they solved all their problems in 30 minutes for the first few episodes. Then it's going to be like, can't do that anymore. You see what I'm saying? Because they keep dropping all these hints of other stuff that's going to happen. The commercial breaks they put in there, great little Easter eggs or nods to MCU past. The toaster that was made by Stark Industries, and then the watch that was called the Strucker. I mean, I just love their authenticity to that time period. So me being a kid who grew up in the 80s, but, you know, 60 sitcoms were prevalent in, you know, they were plenteous on the channels where you could watch reruns when we were growing up. You know, it's like, in a way, I grew up on those just like I grew up on my 80s shows. So as they move through the decades and get into 80s shows, I just think it's going to be really interesting and entertaining for a person like myself. And yeah, so those commercials were funny to me. You know, let's talk about the funny part. As far as funniness, sitcom, you know, I wasn't laugh out loud, ha 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 ha, but I don't think that's the point. It's supposed to make you kind of smile on the inside because you're appreciating how they are tackling the authenticity of those shows, and what they're doing. If you look for the, again, subtleties, is they're touching on what it would be like for Wanda and Vision to try to hide themselves in a world, and that be the premise of a sitcom. You know, still trying to hide their powers. You know what I mean? So that part is like, well, that's like, I don't want to say that's meta. It's meta in a way because it's a sitcom. There it is. I'm not stopping though. The show is a show about a show where the superheroes are trying to hide their identities, but technically that show that where they're hiding their identities is not a real show, and that's going to be what the show is about. You follow me? That's deep diving right there on some meta or trippy ways of looking at it. It's really not that deep to me, but, you know, I'm saying, if you're just some average person who you just like your superhero shows straightforward, again, maybe you won't appreciate this one as much as you appreciate Falcon and Winter Soldier, you know, or Daredevil, you know, or the Punisher, you know, straight ahead, in your face storytelling action. Me personally, I'm just always gonna be a cat. If you can be trippy or out the box creative about stuff, 9 times out of 10 I'm with you. Period. It's why I still love Thor Ragnarok, and you know, nobody's gonna tell me different, that it's like that movie's bad or something. You know, no, I don't think so. So yes. So my point is, there are moments where I laugh, but they're not the sitcom moments. Some of them I do, but they're more of the picking up the subtleties of how accurately they're depicting these things, and then some of the jokes are actually funny from a 60s sitcom perspective. So that's really what the first episode was to me. It was like getting us warmed up, and then again, they have their moments with the glitches and Well, no, this was the second episode. But yeah, in the first episode, at the end, yeah, the fact that they just threw in this scene after he clicks the remote or whatever it was, and you're seeing, then all of a sudden you see like it backs up into a situation where you're like in a room where someone is in a control room monitoring something, and there's a symbol on a screen that I believe is supposed to be the symbol for the group or the SWORD, SWORD, which is the organization similar to Shield. That it looks like Nick Fury. They hinting towards that with Nick Fury at the end of Captain Marvel. They're like an offshoot or similar branch of government that's like Shield. I'm not gonna act like I'm an expert on it. These are things I'm getting filled in by other YouTubers and reading other things. But I get it. It's like they're gonna add something else. And it's in the comics. It's comic source material. So I thought that was cool, and they just do that. And if you're not really paying attention, as some people I'm sure went over their heads, I'm sure they're not even thinking about like that's playing into the bigger picture. Like, so yeah, so they do that at the end, and I had to rewind it. Like, wait a minute, that's not just Marvel having a creative ending sequence. Like that's part of this storyline of the WandaVision show we're watching, not the WandaVision show that's contained in the sitcom. And my premise, I mentioned this to a Facebook friend when he asked it. I know it was about. This was like 3 days ago, and I kind of said this. I just feel like the show is basically going to be like and this is before seeing these episodes, that again she's essentially going crazy, and she's being kept somewhere and being monitored by somebody, and they're going to have to unveil all of that throughout these episodes. It's what the heck is actually going on. And so that was the first hint right there. And of course, if you saw episode 2, let's go there. Then you're really getting into that. The premise of episode 2 was, classic sitcom. Some of the humor in there was even more goofy, I guess, but you're seeing the subtle changes in the set and where they live, so it's like not consistent. So like the house is still black and white, but all of a sudden the house seemed different. So it's almost like they are in a different show, and they gave us a different intro to the TV show WandaVision from the first episode to the second one, as far as like the theme song and introductory montage. Great touch, loved it. One thing I could already think is like, I could see some people saying, man, I'm not watching this, man. Vision's all goofy. I already know people like this. I can, like, somebody in my family, I could easily hear saying this right now. But yeah, they'd be like, Vision's being all goofy and, but that's like, you have to realize, I'm cool with it because I had to catch myself and realize, remember, this is a sitcom. This Vision is dead. So this is Wanda's, again, alternate reality imagination. So, you know what I mean? This is what she has him being like as her sitcom perfect life husband. So once you embrace that concept, and again, I'm sure by the time the episodes move on, if you've seen the trailers, again, they basically show you at some point he starts flying around and he is Vision, and they're like fighting for their home and all this stuff. So somewhere along the line, they're going to realize what the heck's happening, even though I think all this stuff is still happening in her mind. But he's going to be the Vision that he's supposed to be and not a sitcom guy. I'm sure that will end halfway through this series. So again, I'm just taking it and enjoying it for what it is right now. And what ends up happening in the second episode, briefly, they introduce some more characters. We get to see, she said her name was Geraldine, but it's Tiana Paris, I believe is her name. I'm a big fan of hers. I like her. Who's playing Monica Rambeau, who is the daughter of Maria Rambeau. She was in Captain Marvel as a little girl, so now she's grown. Seeing how that movie takes place in 1995. So, and she becomes, from my recollection, when you reading comics. She was named Captain Marvel in the 1984, I believe it was, comic series of Secret Wars, where she was Captain Marvel. But she, I guess, through comic books storylines, becomes a character named Spectrum. Or, basically changes her name from Captain Marvel to Spectrum, I guess, when Carol Danvers becomes Captain Marvel. So they're going a little out of the sequence of what the comics do. But the point is, she's going to be a superhero character named Spectrum. I'm guessing that's what they're going to call her eventually. And she's going to be in Captain Marvel 2, just to give y'all a heads up how these shows are going to connect to movies. But we got introduced to her. And as well as the lady Dottie, who was like the debutante of the society, the head debutante, who I immediately recognized from 902, Beverly Hills 90210. I liked her as Brandon Walsh's girlfriend, Susan, by the way. I was kind of salty when they broke the two of them up. I mean, I thought she was kind of hot, and I just liked her. I thought she fit in good on that show as a good actress. So yeah, that's who that is. And I just thought that episode was good. I mean, the back and forth between them was cool. And we had that strange moment where it's like, she seems to be on to Wanda as being strange. And even Agnes, she's dropping little hints that she has an ulterior motive, in my opinion. But I also have seen certain clips from the trailers that makes you think she's gonna be someone significant. But we'll see that later on. She's looking like a friend, but she might be a foe. And then on the flip side, Dottie's coming across right now like she's a foe, you know what I mean, who may be on to. So again, it's weird because it's like she's on to them as being not normal in this sitcom setting, but does that mean on the real world of Marvel, this is actually a woman who may be monitoring Wanda, and that's why she's in Wanda's psyche of this TV show as somebody who's, you see what I'm trying to say? This is what you got to look at. You're looking at characters who either exist in this sitcom world that she's created, or they exist in the real world of Marvel Cinematic Universe as either a monitor or enemy or something like that of hers. Obviously, Monica Rambeau is an example of that, because she's going to be a person outside of the sitcom that Wanda's living in. And she made a comment, go back and watch it, where she said, "I don't even know why I'm here." That's going to be something significant, because, when you say that, and like Wanda's like, "Yeah, I don't either," it's like jokingly saying, "I don't even know why I'm here, like I don't even belong." No, she means that, because there's a scene where she's going to say it again, and they showed it in a trailer, but when you see these quick clips, I'm paying attention to certain scenes in dialogue, because there's a scene when they're in color, and she's going to say, "I don't know why I'm here," or something like that, or "I don't know who I am," and it's like she was glitching or something like that. Look it up. It's in the trailers. So I think they did that on purpose. They dropped that line so early in that little casual, inconspicuous conversation, because that's a figure of speech. I don't even know why I'm here. People, we say it all the time. She really means that. She's not going to understand why she's here. That's going to have more depth to the connotation or the insinuation of her making that statement. So seriously, I love that. Great piece of moment, for if you're deep diving, paying attention to stuff. I think that's going to be very significant that she said that. I think she's going to say that periodically, maybe until the reveal of who she is and why she's there. So yeah, so Dottie is like hinting that she's on to them, but like I said, I think that's in a bigger scope of what she means by that. And they had a moment with that radio, man, that was creepy. If somebody's saying, Wanda, why are you doing this, or something like that, what's going on with you, what are they doing, something, I gotta remember that. The specifics aren't important. The point is, there's your first like real strong suggestion that there's something weird going on. That, and then her finding the helicopter that was color, even though she's in a black and white show. The thing where Dottie cuts her hand and the blood is actually red. Like these are moments I just really, I don't want to say envy, but I just, I would just love to be in on creative meetings and discussions where people come up with these ideas. To me, those were just great little reveals to keep you guessing as to what is going on. So again, in that respect, they're doing a great job, in my opinion, because you just immediately want to figure out what are these things suggesting. The radio thing is, I'm not acting like I'm like, oh my gosh, but I mean, it was kind of creepy, but not like, oh my gosh, creepy. It was just like, ooh, that's just a little disturbing. And again, by setting it in the middle of a sitcom scene, it's black and white, it just kind of gives you a nostalgic vibe. So again, Marvel Studios is great at capturing whatever the aesthetic that they said they're setting out to give you. You just have to pay attention when they tell you what they're doing, and then if you go from that, usually this is why they get, in my opinion, positive reviews most of the time, because they tell you what they're going to give you and they do a good job of it. Now, people who just don't want to ignore that they told you this was going to happen or this is what we said it was going to be, and you just want to be mad because you want things to be the way you want them to be, then yeah, you will have a problem with some of Marvel's product, the MCU's product. So yeah, those moments to me made episode 2 much better than the first one, and it was a little longer. As I looked at the runtime, it was 36 minutes. Episode 1 was 29 minutes, so it felt a little more satisfactory. Was there a commercial in that? I guess this one had the commercial for the Strucker watch, if I'm not mistaken, because it wasn't 2 commercials. It was 1 commercial was in one episode, 1 commercial was in the second episode. So if they keep doing that, where they just throw in a commercial that has an MCU Easter egg or whatever you want to call it, that's dope too, in my opinion. Excuse me. And then they stylize the commercials like the time period that the show is existing in. So when they get into a 70s sitcom, the commercial will look like the 70s, 80s, so on and so forth, I expect. Also, we are supposed to get we're supposed to be seeing what was her name? Darcy, Kat Dennings, who I also love her. Darcy from the Thor movies. She's supposed to be in this series, as Darcy. And the guy who was the FBI agent, I believe. I'm forgetting his name right now. Asian American comedic actor. Who was in Ant-Man, or Ant-Man and the Wasp, I guess more specifically. I can't remember if he was in both. He was definitely in the second one. He's supposed to be in the show as the same character as well. So I think that's dope. Looking forward to seeing how they use them. I'm almost done. So to me, those moments in the second episode were very impressive, very enjoyable, and give you even more of a taste of where they're going with the slight disturbing moments that make you wonder what's going on. Obviously, the end, as my daughter was just alluding to before she left, the scene where they go outside and see the man climbing out of the sewer with bees flying around him, and he looks at her, and then she says, stop, or something like that, or no. And then, just by her saying no, the whole scene rewound. See, that's letting you know, okay, Wanda is using her powers in a way that she's not supposed to be. It lets you know that something is, mainly this has to do with her own world, her own psyche, her own powers on display here. That's easily the message that's given there. The first hint that Wanda is, this really centers around what is going on with Wanda in her head. It's like, how many of us, I know I have, as I got older, I used to have nightmares when I was a kid, and they used to scare the crap out of me. And I remember around maybe 17, 18, I forget what year, but late teens, for whatever reason I developed this ability, and I've had it happen a lot recently as an adult. when you're having a nightmare and you learn that you can control what's happening in your nightmares. I remember when I was a little kid, it seemed like I never could. Like somebody would kill me, you know what I'm saying? And I'd wake up. But now it's like, as an adult, you're just like, no, this crap ain't happening. Like part of you knows that I can control this. This is my psyche. This is my dream, you know? So that's what that scene reminded me of, is how when you're having a nightmare, you reach a point where you know that you can stop this. Like, this is my dream, you know? We're not doing this. So, again, that's obviously going to point to something bigger. So, all I can say is if those things that I'm just bringing up right now haven't impressed you, maybe you don't care for the humor. I'm loving both sides of what they're doing. I think it's been so, in these 2 episodes, it's been done dang near flawlessly. The first one, like I said, maybe a little slower, in leaning too much into a 60s sitcom, but that's fine to me in the big picture. You know what I mean? If you know that you're watching episode 1 out of 9 out of 29 minutes out of 6 hours worth of content, if you really just put it in that perspective, can you really complain about that? You know? So I'll be back each week, probably on Sundays rather than Saturdays. Who knows? To do these reviews. Hope you enjoy them. I'm going to post this to YouTube. Soul of a Nerd. Subscribe. Hopefully, by the way, Falcon and Winter Soldier is coming like right behind this in March. So, again, that's probably what I'll be doing on a weekly basis, is coming out and reviewing these episodes. And you just may see guests and things grow. But for now, I'm starting out with these type videos. To me, I'm giving them as a collective a 9 out of 10. Like, I was completely satisfied. Well, maybe an 8. Because like I said, I almost want them to be longer. So that's why I'm wondering, like, if the next episode, and these weekly episodes are only 30 minutes or 36 minutes, that could be a problem. I need more. So if the next 2 are only 30 minutes apiece, but then after that they start stretching out the length, I'll probably be fine with it, especially if they just pack more action or movement and storyline. But again, if they're being creative with it, at the end of the day, am I really going to complain? If they do, the next episode is only 30 some minutes, but they do this great job. You saw at the end of episode 2, she was pregnant out of nowhere, and they went into color. So they're not wasting time. Like, each episode I see, they're jumping from decade to decade, kind of. And I remember seeing just recently an interview with, it was either both of them or just Elizabeth Olsen, and she said this. Even then, I was just like, wow, so they're really just going, in a way, I was like disappointed, because I'm thinking, well, come on, y'all got to take a little more time. Do you really just want to keep jumping decades, episode to episode? But now that I'm really looking at it, it's like, yeah, please do that, because as much as I may like the 60s sitcom aesthetic, I don't want to watch that for too long. So again, I think they know what they're doing. They did it for an episode, 30 minutes of it. The points in not plot points, but the what do they call them? Not the notes. I'm thinking of the word. It's a movie or TV term, but the spots. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. The spots that they hit that were meant to just capsulize those types of shows, they did them. Her rushing to make a dinner for the boss and things like that. I think that's all they ever intended to do, was give you a little taste of that in this confines of the MCU. And then they did it again with the community talent show. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the genius or brilliance, I'll say, of what they're doing in their creative writing rooms, is figuring out how do we follow through on that promise that we said it's going to be 60s or 70s or whatever sitcom style, but then also let's not make any mistake. This is the MCU. These are superheroes. We got to tie these into the greater MCU and keep this thing moving forward for that core audience. And they're doing it in these 2 episodes. So I am going to say 9 out of 10. Totally satisfied, especially since they were back to back. If I were just watching that first episode, I probably would have said a 7 out of 10. I still enjoyed it, but I'd been like, that was a little short. and where's something that makes you feel like this is Wanda and Vision and there's MCU type stuff happening. Second episode, like I said, did a great job. By the way, I'm curious. I don't know. This is wild to me for whatever reason. That voice that's on the radio that keeps saying Wanda's name, it kind of sounds like Captain America to me, like Chris Evans. It kind of does. It probably isn't gonna be, but that would be so dope if that's what that is. Because it sounds like it's somebody who cares about her, who's asking, what do you, I can't remember the exact dialogue right now, doggone it. But yeah, whatever they're saying, it sounds like it's a friender, someone who's close to her. And it would just make sense to be Cap, because he kind of took her under his wing in a way in Civil War. I mean, obviously Hawkeye did even more so. Also, spoilers or rumor mill type stuff that Quicksilver is going to pop up in this show, since it's an alternate reality of her mind. I'm curious to see how that's going to be. I've heard it's going to be the one from the X-Men movies, which I hope not. Again, if you want to just mind blow people to cross over universes, since it's an alternate reality, you could do that. But to me, that would make no sense, because that's not her brother. Why would she fictionalize or imagine, or whatever you want to call it, materialize a dude who isn't even her brother because it's an alternate universe? Like, and I actually liked Aaron Taylor. I forget. He's got like 3 names. The guy who played her brother, Aaron Taylor, or something else. There's another name in there, but I liked him in Age of Ultron. I always felt like they missed out by killing him. Having a speedster in the MCU would have been dope, because that's a completely different power from everybody else. It gives you a different visual effect of someone who's fast. So I would even almost hope that this is the way to bring him back. It probably isn't. But they can't get everything right. Like, I really wish they wouldn't have killed him in the first place, but they did. So hopefully, if this is true that Quicksilver pops back up, Pietrov, I think was his name, Wanda and Pietro, I hope that it's that rendition that's from Age of Ultron, which I'm guessing it's going to be. There's been rumors that it is him. I just, for whatever reason, I heard another rumor that's the one from the X-Men movies, which to me, again, I'd actually really be critical of that if that's what they did. So, yeah, that's something to kind of look forward to if you keep watching the show, I think. And all in all, like I said, 9 out of 10, looking at them combined. Great, solid hour of Marvel Cinematic Universe. Y'all are doing it again. So, that's all I got. So I have a 38-minute video here, and the other one was like 17. So basically a good hour review. So let's go. Hey, it was an hour worth of show. So at least I'm matching up. So maybe if they really do release 30-minute episodes, I'll only talk for 30 minutes. How about that? Peace out. Catch y'all next week. And if I do think of something else, I will bring it up on the next video. But I'm done for now. Peace.